in a healthy environment. Your childhood is supposed to be the time of joy, happiness, and growth, where you learn about the world through your experiences with your parents and the people around you. But unfortunately, some people don't experience the blessing of living in a happy household. If you were neglected or abused as a kid, you probably suffer the consequences of it to this day, without knowing how toxic your situation really was. You may have come to believe that it's just how families work, and bring your learned feelings of shame, fear, and sadness into adulthood. To learn more about this, here are 5 signs you had a traumatic childhood. Number 1. Childish reactions. How do you cope with stress? While children cry and throw tantrums to relieve their frustrations, it would be a bit odd to see an adult angrily stomp their feet in the middle of a long, boring meeting. This is why adults need to handle their problems in a different, more mature way. But if you've suffered trauma as a child, you might find yourself drifting off to simpler times when life gets too hard to handle. This is called age regression, a coping mechanism in which your behavior temporarily reverses to earlier stages of development. So, when faced with stress, you may turn to using baby talk, throwing tantrums, rocking or pacing to soothe yourself, or using dolls or stuffed animals for support. Some extreme cases of age regression can include crying in a fetal position or bedwetting. Number 2. Insecure attachment. In psychology, the theory of attachment refers to how our ideas about relationships are learned through our interactions with our parents or caregivers. Growing up with a secure attachment meant that your parents had fulfilled your needs when you were a baby, and you gained a positive self-image and learned to trust those around you. But with an insecure attachment, your caregivers may have been so unresponsive or neglectful that your brain decided that others could not be trusted, and you ended up developing a negative self-image which can follow you into adulthood. As a result, you may struggle to form or maintain close relationships because you experience intense feelings of abandonment or the fear of commitment. Number 3. Conflict avoidance. Were you allowed to stand up for yourself when you felt you needed to, or did your parents always just dismiss your thoughts and ideas? Growing up in a dismissive or overly critical environment could have taught you to expect negative reactions from the people around you and cause you to be afraid of confrontation, whether it's with your partner, family member, work colleague, or friend. You may find that you can't really voice your opinions and will always let them have things their way. Even when things upset you, you may just choose to change the topic, pretend you're okay, or even force yourself to stay in an uncomfortable situation just so you don't have to disappoint anyone. Number 4. Low self-worth. Did your parents praise you for your achievements, or did they brush them off like they didn't happen? Were they gentle with their criticisms, or did they humiliate you when you did something wrong? If you were constantly criticized for everything you did, no matter how small or insignificant it was, you may come to believe that you're worthless and can't do anything right. These feelings may continue into adulthood, where even if you were told you did a good job, you still think it wasn't done right or well enough. It's as if you're never good enough for others or for yourself, and live in a constant state of anxiety, wondering what others think of you or whether they approve of you or not. And number 5, risky behavior. Lastly, another possible sign of childhood trauma is if you engage in lots of risky behavior. Risky behavior describes any behavior with an uncertain risk, whether binge drinking, taking drugs, reckless driving, and so on. Studies have shown that exposure to traumatic events and the development of PTSD symptoms can make you seek these behaviors more frequently. Also, seeking risk may be a maladaptive strategy to help you overcome all those negative feelings you experienced when you were a child. Even if you don't see it as a big deal, risking your life and health is certainly cause for concern. Do you think you had a traumatic childhood? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with those who might benefit.
So today I had a class where if you looked at this female first grader, and this is not the first time, but if you looked at her and asked her, "Are you finished? You need help? What are you doing? Let me see if she would break down in tears. And I said to myself, I said, this is definitely trauma. So while my kids are at um, special, I decided to look it up. Although I already know, it's a form of trauma, childhood trauma. So I decided to share this for anybody that has a child that's just cries. And this is not my first one, but I said, you know what? That's what's going on with these babies. Childhood trauma. I mean, eyes just filled up. Like I said, and what are you doing over here? You need help? What are you doing? Let me see. So I looked at her paper. She bust out. She looked at me like she was in fear, like I was gonna beat her. I said, you ain't do nothing wrong. You okay? You good? I'm just checking on you. I said, this how I am with the other kids too, right? She said, so, these. Mm, children, trauma. And I'm familiar with trauma. Me personally. And, mm, 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 mm. So I wanted to share this. Maybe someone is wondering why their teacher is calling them, telling them that their child cries or gets in trouble or make excuses or don't want to be held accountable, blame it on somebody else, project. Hate to say it, but that's some of the signs that begins a narcissist. Learned behavior. So I just wanted to share this. I walked away. I said, oh, okay. I walked away, looked back over. She crying. And I'm like, I said, you need a moment? She said, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. Whenever I deal with children, I always, especially with my grandchildren, I like to look up symptoms and, I'm a symptom looker, upper. I like to look up symptoms and see why, even though I know it has to do with trauma or some type of neglection, um, some type of neglect. So, again, I just wanted to share that. I thought it would be interesting. If you wonder why your child acts a certain way, it doesn't even have to be crying. Look it up. There's a reason. I love you.